Welcome to Carolina Varsity's 2012 look at the NCHSAA playoffs. I'm Dale Ross, this is Matt Morrow. And we're now going to take a look at the 2A playoffs and a game that I think we both agree it might be the best ball game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's East Lincholn versus Tarboro. This is Tarboro's fourth straight appearance. Tarboro's been there, done that. Probably a lot of people's favorite. Just something, first thing I'll throw out is that Max Prep's, really it's a 42-42, but it's just, you know, that close. 42.2 to 41.9. That's based on the scoring differential of both schools throughout the season. So a high scoring ball game is what they're predicting as well. We know East Lincholn and their ability to put points up on the board. You know, and I always, whenever I talk about East Lincholn, you know, people say, well, it's a 4-7 team. I kind of always go back to that Hopewell game. Yeah. Because Hopewell is not a horrible 4AA school or 4A school. You know, Hopewell played South Caldwell to a 17-14 ball game. Right. And of course, South Caldwell was undefeated 4A, you know, 4A team. But no, it's not just because they're a 4A team. It's because they're a decent 4A team. Yeah, 4-7. No, they're not great. They're not winning any state championships. But when you can put 61 points up on a 4A school, you're doing something. Yeah. And it's not a Garinger. You know, we're talking about a decent team. Tarboro comes in and they're a running team. That's, you know, they're just run. People may remember them from last season. Not a lot of people know about 2A teams, but that's where Todd Gurley, the kid who's playing down at Georgia, I think won the North Carolina Shrine Bowl last year for us. Really played a great ball game. Yes, Duncan had a good ball game too, but Duncan was in the ball game because Gurley needed a rest. And so Duncan came in and, you know, broke one, you know, I forget, 80 yards, great run. Duncan, great ball player, having a good year at Duke. But Tarboro is a run team. Tarboro has only thrown the ball 34 times this year. Good. So, you know, you're going to have a classic run, smash your mouth football team that runs not just out of a T formation. And if we get into it, a T is not a wing T. They're different offenses. So we don't want to get into that. But they don't just run a T formation. They run a Tarboro T. Now, I don't know what a Tarboro T is, but I do know what a T formation is, and that is a formation that is really set up for the run. Yeah. So you got good backs, and if you got good multi-purpose backs, meaning you got good tailbacks or halfbacks, really is what we're talking about here. You know, and the halfback is a halfback for a reason, not just because there's two of them. Two of them makes a whole. You know, they're kind of like a fullback, and they're kind of like a tailback, in that they can kind of do some of both. And T formation takes advantage of those kind of backs. And that's why we have two running backs combined have about 2,800 yards of offense. Robertson with right at 1,500 and Bobbitt with right at 1,400. 10.2 and 8.5 yards a carry. You know, when you look over at East Lincholn, you know, Garrett Young's now at 3,400 yards. You know, I think the only guy that we've looked at tonight that's got comparable stats is Beecher up at the Concord for throwing the ball. East Lincholn runs the ball a little bit. They don't just stick to the pass completely. Right. And they had two backs, combined have 1,200 yards. But more importantly, right at the 200 carries, excuse me. So they, just out of those two, you got 200 carries. You got Young, who's thrown for 267 times. So it's obviously leans to the pass, but it's a fairly balanced as far as the offensive plays are. They're fairly balanced. So I do believe it's going to be a high-scoring ball game. Man, this one's a tough one because I kind of want to pull for East Lincholn. But Tarboro's been there, done that. and they've got the kind of team that I think is really set up to win ball games, or to win championship games. So
right.
I'm actually taking Tarboro in a close one. I think it's going to be a game that is going to go down to the end. I think it's going to be a game, it really will be another one of those games that maybe the last team with the ball wins, or the last team with the ball is holding the ball so that the other team can't get the ball to score to win. It's going to be that one-score game that will really be down, will not be decided until the final minutes.
Yeah, like you said, I think this is going to be the best game of the playoffs, definitely. You got two contrasting styles. You got the spread offense of East Lincholn that going against this T formation, or the Tarboro T formation, heavy run game. The key for East Lincholn, to stop that T formation, you're going to have a lot of cross-buck type action going on in the backfield, two backs leading through hole. A lot of different types of run plays you can run from that. East Lincholn has got to be accountable for every gap on the defense. And now when we talk about gaps in defense, we're talking about A gap, B gap, C gap, and D gap, which is outside. And I don't know how Tarboro runs it, if they have two tight ends or just one tight end, if they offset. There's a lot of ways you can set it up. But you can't get caught up in formation if you're East Lincholn. You got to tell your guys, okay, you got A gap, you got B gap, you got C gap, you got outside. It's got to be assignment football, almost like when you're playing the option.
Right.
That's going to be the key for stopping it. If you're up front playing D-line for East Lincholn, you can't get upfield too much, because I'm sure they got traps, that kind of thing that can come off of that stuff. You have got to hold those offensive linemen up and don't let them get second level. That's going to be the key in trying to, well, you're not going to stop it. That's what they do. Right. It's going to be the key to try to slow down, Tarboro's running game. And obviously, if you can slow it down, they've only thrown it 34 times, which works out to maybe 2 passes a game, which their leading receiver has, what is it?
Yeah, their leading receiver has 7 catches, 135 yards. He has a ball game in a season.
Well, if they do throw it, you got to watch that guy.
Right.
So, on the flip side, for Tarboro to stop East Lincholn, it's going to be very tough. Garrett Young, like you mentioned, 3,400 yards, 41 touchdowns. He's only thrown 5 interceptions all year, but he's playing with a major knee injury, and he's been playing with it ever since towards the end of the regular season. He did miss a few games, but he decided he was going to come back, and he's driven to win a state title. So the way I think Tarboro has to approach this is you have got to get pressure on him, because he's not mobile. Now, East Lincoln's coach, Mike Bias, I've sung his praises before. He's a very, very intelligent offensive mind, which is why they put up the numbers they have. So if you're Tarboro, you got to be careful and choose your spots if you're going to blitz them, because Coach Bias will throw screens at you. And freshman Chaz Surratt, very impressive, had all 4 touchdowns last week in their victory over Madison. He wears number 12. And he scored 3 times on offense, and he had a pick 6 playing defense in the secondary. So that's one of the guys you got to watch. But East Lincholn has 3 receivers that they can go to that can all burn you. And like you mentioned, Dale, they've run for 1,200 yards. But I think the run in their offense is to keep people honest. Mm-hmm. I think, they want to throw it. And you mentioned the Hopewell game. They threw it a lot in that game. But they did give up 59. That being said, that was a totally different offense. Them playing against a heavy run team, I don't think we've seen.
Hopewell's a very vertical team. For those that don't know, Hopewell did have, from what I'd seen out of some decent run, but they're vertical. They were a vertical team.
Yeah, it seems like the only heavy tight run team they've played is Thomasville, which they did beat. Right. In the state quarterfinals. Madison was I was shocked when I saw the highlights. They seemed to be more of a spread team that came out of the mountains, which was a little different. But East Lincholn is undefeated. They are a very good team. They've been on a mission all year. They've played a very good schedule, and they've won against that very good schedule. I don't know the caliber of teams Tarboro has played throughout the season, but I do know East Lincoln, and I do know Coach Bias. So, in that being said, I'm going to pick East Lincoln in a game that I think is going to come down to, like you mentioned, whoever has the ball last. And you guys enjoy this game, because I think it's going to be a great game if you like seeing two different styles of football. And in terms of competitiveness,